I'm David Toman, author of Nootropics Expert. In this video, I'm going to share with you what I know about L-Tyrosine as a nootropic. I'll cover what L-Tyrosine is, how it works in your brain, and why we use it. How it works with ADHD stimulants like Ritalin and Adderall, how much you need to use it for it to be effective, and how many times per day, and potential side effects of L-Tyrosine and the best type of L-Tyrosine to buy. Your brain converts L-Tyrosine to L-Dopa, which then produces dopamine. The unused dopamine is then further converted to norepinephrine and epinephrine, or adrenaline. This triad of neurotransmitters are collectively referred to as catecholamines. Tyrosine is derived from the Greek word tyros, meaning cheese. It was first discovered by German chemist Justus von Liebig in 1846 in the protein casein found in cheese. Tyrosine is considered a non-essential amino acid because it's synthesized in your body from phenylalanine, which is found in many high-protein foods such as poultry, fish, dairy, nuts, soy products, lima beans, avocados, and bananas. L-Tyrosine enhances working memory and executive function in the prefrontal cortex. It helps with creative flow states, is fuel for inspiration, cognitive flexibility, and the kind of convergent thinking you do in multiple choice exams. L-Tyrosine also assists in the production of thyroid hormones T3 and T4, which are crucial in maintaining both overall physical and cognitive health. Next, we're going to look at the difference between L-Tyrosine and N-Acetyl L-Tyrosine, or NALT, and what's the difference. N-Acetyl L-Tyrosine, or NALT, is the amino acid L-Tyrosine with an acetyl group added. When you take NALT as a supplement, it breaks down in your kidneys back into L-Tyrosine. So in theory, the two supplements offer the same benefits. Now there is some debate in the nootropics community on which one is more effective, NALT or plain L-Tyrosine. NALT is a more soluble form of L-Tyrosine, so it should be more bioavailable to your body. However, some studies report that in some cases a sizable percentage of the supplemental NALT is excreted in urine before it's converted to L-Tyrosine. Now, in my own experience, I haven't had any issues using NALT as a source of L-Tyrosine. It gives me a dopamine and adrenal boost that you would expect from supplementing with a dopamine precursor. But when I haven't got any NALT around, I successfully switch to L-Tyrosine, although at a slightly higher dose. When dealing with ADD or ADHD, L-Tyrosine is particularly effective when stacked with L-Car and citicoline. L-Car and citicoline easily cross the blood-brain barrier for boosting acetylcholine levels, and it seems to positively influence serotonin levels. And L-Tyrosine provides my brain with the dopamine it needs to mitigate the symptoms of adult ADD. Now, I find that L-Tyrosine stacked with 20 milligrams of Ritalin twice a day works particularly well. Clearly, this brain is not getting enough dopamine on its own and needs the boost that comes from supplementing with L-Tyrosine. So like all nootropics, your mileage may vary. Always take into account how each nootropic works synergistically with others in your stack and how they work with any meds you need to take. Now, this is as much of an art as it is a science, and experimentation is key for optimal cognition. Next, we'll look at how L-Tyrosine works in your brain. L-Tyrosine boosts brain health and function in several ways, but two in particular stand out. First, L-Tyrosine improves memory and cognition under acute stress. Acute stress is defined as short-term stressors that affect cognition. Examples are extreme heat or cold, things like cold showers, extreme sports, car accidents, relationship problems, intense movies, business deals gone awry, exams, and war zones. In one study done at the University of Bedfordshire and the UK, the effect of L-Tyrosine on cognitive performance was measured before an exercise task. Researchers recruited 8 soccer players. and they had them complete a 90-minute soccer simulation performance test in an environmental chamber set at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. The soccer players were given either L-Tyrosine before exercise or a placebo. Cognitive performance was measured before the exercise task, and then again at halftime, following halftime, and following the entire simulation. The cognitive performance task assessed dual task and vigilance. The outcome revealed that cognitive vigilance and reaction time among soccer players significantly improved following administration of L-Tyrosine. The results showed that in warm weather conditions, L-Tyrosine could enhance cognitive function and prevent cognitive impairment during exposure to exercise heat stress. Now, the second way it works in your brain, L-Tyrosine boosts neurotransmitters. L-Tyrosine, taken as a supplement, converts to dopamine. Dopamine helps control movement in your body, is fundamental to memory, attention, and problem solving. The unused dopamine can then convert into norepinephrine and epinephrine, or adrenaline. Norepinephrine is important for attentiveness, emotions, sleeping, dreaming, and learning. Epinephrine, or adrenaline, drives your fight or flight response. It's what prompts your reaction to dangerous circumstances, emergency situations, or in stressful situations or environments. In one study done in the Netherlands, researchers determined if L-Tyrosine would boost cognitive resources associated with cognitive control. They performed tests designed to measure working memory using the NBAC test. Study participants were assigned to engage in a 1-BAC condition of easy difficulty and then a 2-BAC condition of tougher difficulty. Those that used L-Tyrosine demonstrated superior performance in the 2-BAC test, but not in the 1-BAC test. The study authors suggested that L-Tyrosine provides greater cognitive enhancement when cognitive demand increases. So the bottom line, supplementing with L-Tyrosine may help you increase your IQ score due to maximizing catecholamine reserves. Next, we'll take a look at all of the benefits that L-Tyrosine provides. L-Tyrosine can boost levels of the neurotransmitters dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine, and it contributes to the production of thyroid hormones T4 and T3. Tyrosine can help boost cognition, especially in stressful situations. It helps improve decision-making, flow state, and creativity, cognitive flexibility, and working memory. L-Tyrosine converts into L-Dopa to produce dopamine. L-Dopa is also used to make melanin in your body. This conversion process helps in the removal of neurotoxic quinones and chelates heavy metals like mercury and lead, which can accumulate in and damage neurons. The dopamine that is not used by your brain is available to produce norepinephrine, which is important for attentiveness, emotions, sleeping, dreaming, and learning. L-Tyrosine can be an effective nootropic when stacked with ADHD and ADD meds like Ritalin or Adderall. It helps supply extracellular dopamine needed to improve the effectiveness of stimulants used to boost the uptake of dopamine in your brain. Next, we're going to talk about how does it feel when you take it as a supplement. Keep in mind that L-Tyrosine is a precursor to catecholamines. So if you're not low in dopamine, norepinephrine, or epinephrine, you may not feel anything. Now, many neurohackers report a lift in mood, better focus, concentration, increased energy, and an overall sense of well-being. L-Tyrosine can help you readjust your motivation levels. It can help lower anxiety levels, especially social anxiety. Supplementing with L-Tyrosine can help bring your blood pressure down if it's elevated from a stressful situation or environment. Take it before a stressful event if you can. L-Tyrosine helps buffer the effects of stimulants like caffeine or amphetamines. It helps potentiate and prolong the effects of Ritalin or Adderall and reduces the crash. If you're into athletics or do manual work, you'll find that supplementing with L-Tyrosine before a workout or a construction job, for example, will leave you feeling great afterwards. It helps mitigate many of the effects of acute stressors caused by short-term stressors. And L-tyrosine helps your body produce melanin, so you might find it easier to get a tan while at the beach. Next, we're going to talk briefly about the clinical research behind L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine clinical research. L-tyrosine used to treat ADHD. Now, there's been several studies that have investigated using L-tyrosine for the treatment of ADHD. One informal study published in the 1980s determined that L-tyrosine resulted in short-term relief from ADHD symptoms, but the subjects eventually reached tolerance and a diminished effect. Now, this is important for you to keep in mind. It seems that L-tyrosine on its own can benefit some more than others, regardless if you're treating ADHD or are perfectly cognitively healthy. Now, I've seen more than one report of nootropic users experiencing tolerance after just a week of supplementing with L-tyrosine. But most peer-reviewed published studies show positive results. There was one study published in Neuropsychiatric Disease and Treatment in 2011, and it looked at using amino acid precursors for the treatment of ADHD, including L-tyrosine for dopamine and 5-HTP for serotonin. The study used 85 young people aged 4 to 18 years old, all with a clinical diagnosis of ADHD. They were treated for an initial period of 8 to 10 weeks. Urinary samples to determine serotonin and dopamine levels were collected within the first 4 weeks. Now, if they didn't reach adequate levels, subjects were moved to a higher dosing level, in levels 2 and then 3 until they got relief from symptoms. The researchers found that the dopamine and serotonin precursors yielded similar results to Strattera and Ritalin, and the amino acid protocol may be equal in efficacy to potent pharmaceutical ADHD medications. I've got another study where L-tyrosine reduces blood pressure under stress. Now, this study is particularly interesting for nootropic application. It's commonly understood that blood pressure rises when we're under stress. The source of stress really doesn't matter. Stress up equals blood pressure up. Now, a study in Amsterdam showed that L-tyrosine administration decreased blood pressure in about 15 minutes after they took the supplement. This study involved assessing task performance following acute stress. Acute stress is usually short-term and can be caused by driving, fighting, athletics, martial arts training, war, combat training, CrossFit, cold showers, loud music, intense movies, loud noises, business deals, relationships, schools, exams, and more. The point is this study is applicable to every one of us. The study found that L-tyrosine reduced diastolic blood pressure within 15 minutes of taking the supplement, and blood pressure normalized within 1 hour. This study tells us that L-tyrosine may promote a decrease in blood pressure caused by stress, and could be used to mitigate the effects of stressful situations if taken prior to the stressful event. And then another study, L-tyrosine promotes cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility applies to those who can adjust their thinking quickly to adapt to novel situations and stimuli. A high degree of cognitive flexibility is associated with increased fluid intelligence, superior reading and comprehension, and a healthier brain. Now, research done in 2015 supports the idea that L-tyrosine promotes cognitive flexibility. In this trial, researchers recruited 22 adults and set up a double-blind placebo-controlled study. All subjects were assigned a task-switching procedure to measure their flexibility. The results showed that receiving L-tyrosine supplementation increased cognitive flexibility compared to the placebo group. The researchers determined that L-tyrosine can facilitate cognitive flexibility by repleting cognitive resources. The team observed that increased cognitive flexibility was likely due to a boost in dopamine concentrations. They noted that L-tyrosine enhanced usage of various cognitive resources. And one way to increase your cognitive flexibility would be to start supplementing with L-tyrosine. It stands to reason that people who are closed-minded, set in their ways, are resistant to change, and can't cope with unexpected stimuli or situations have cognitive rigidity. And it's likely due to suboptimal dopamine levels. Next, we're going to talk about how much L-tyrosine to use and how many times per day. L-tyrosine's suggested dosage for cognitive benefit is 500 milligrams to 2 grams per per day. Now, you may find that your body responds to smaller doses, or even more if you're stacking with stimulants like ADHD meds. I personally use 500 milligrams in the morning, another 500 milligrams at noon, and another 500 milligrams around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it prevents a stimulant crash from Ritalin. So listen to your body and see how you react. If you find that you do not experience the full benefit from L-Tyrosine, then try using it an hour before or 2 hours after a meal, because L-Tyrosine taken as a supplement may compete with other amino acids in food for transport into your system. Now, I personally, again, stack L-Tyrosine with my Ritalin dose 3 times a day. Twice, each time with Ritalin, and then a final dose of L-Tyrosine late in the afternoon to prevent a stimulant crash. Now, you should note that long-term use of L-Tyrosine can suppress serotonin. The symptoms include depression, fatigue, or severe anxiety, feeling much like a panic attack. You can easily counter this by supporting serotonin with 250 to 500 milligrams of L-tryptophan about 60 minutes before bed. Next, we'll talk about side effects. L-Tyrosine is considered non-toxic and very safe. Most neurohackers don't have any negative side effects from using L-Tyrosine. At higher doses, there are reports of stomach issues and migraines. Migraine problems usually happen to those who already suffer from migraines. Now, this may be an indication that your neurotransmitter levels are already optimal and you don't need to supplement with L-Tyrosine. L-Tyrosine can increase your thyroid hormones. So if you're hypothyroid, you should use caution when supplementing with L-Tyrosine because it can change the way your thyroid meds work. And if you're taking prescription MAOIs, you should not use L-Tyrosine. MAOIs work in your brain by blocking the enzyme monoamine oxidase. This enzyme normally blocks excess dopamine, but when you block the enzyme, more dopamine is released. So using L-Tyrosine in combination with MAOIs could raise dopamine levels too much, resulting in a rapid rise in blood pressure in a hypertensive crisis, causing severe headache, nausea and sweating, severe anxiety, rapid heartbeat, chest pain, vision changes, shortness of breath, and confusion. A severe increase in blood pressure from this combo can lead to a stroke or a heart attack. Next, we'll talk about what type of tyrosine to buy. L-Tyrosine is available to buy in powder, capsule, and tablet form. Capsules and tablets are usually 300 to 500 milligrams each. Now, some pre-made nootropic stacks and workout stacks also include L-Tyrosine as part of their formula. N-Acetyl L-Tyrosine, or NALT, is an alternative to plain tyrosine. NALT has an acetyl group added to L-Tyrosine in an attempt to make it more bioavailable. For example, MindLab Pro 4.0 contains 11 brain-enhancing nootropic compounds, including N-Acetyl L-Tyrosine. Now, I recommend MindLab Pro because it addresses all aspects of anxiety resistance, memory, and cognitive enhancement, stabilizes mood, brain repair, and maintenance. This premium nootropic stack is designed to affect neurotransmitters, cognitive energy, brain waves, neuroprotection, and regeneration. See my video that I did recently for a MindLab Pro 4.0 review for a detailed report. Now, ensure that you read your labels carefully and stick with manufacturers who follow good manufacturing practices and are GMP certified. And do your best to avoid supplements that have toxic other ingredients, which are usually listed at the bottom of the supplement facts label. So my nootropics expert recommendation for L-Tyrosine is usually it's 500 milligrams 2 or 3 times per day. So that's my report on L-Tyrosine. You'll find the full transcript of this video on nootropicsexpert.com. The link to it is down below this video. I invite you to explore and read about dozens of all the most used and well-known nootropics over on my Nootropics Expert website. If you have any questions or you want to share your experience using L-Tyrosine, please use the comment section below this video or at the bottom of my L-Tyrosine review on Nootropics Expert. I try my best to respond to comments and questions as quickly as I can. If you haven't already, download your free copy of Secrets of the Optimized Brain. It's nearly 100 pages. Did I mention it's free? and contains details of 92 of the most popular nootropics used today. Link below this video. And consider getting a copy of my book Head First, the complete guide to healing and optimizing your brain with nootropic supplements. Head First is nearly 600 pages and the best guide on the planet for fixing and optimizing your brain. And if you could use some personal help with choosing the right nootropics or figuring out how to deal with your own brain health issues, you might want to consider booking a personal consultation with me. You'll find a link to my calendar below this video. If you want to see more videos on all the best nootropics used today, subscribe to this channel before you go. I'll be putting up new videos on nootropics and optimizing your brain every week. I'm David Toman, author of Nootropics Expert.